Station 9. Blessing. A great number of people followed him, and among them were women who were beating their breasts and wailing for him. But Jesus turned to them and said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For the days are surely coming when they will say, 'Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed.' Then they will begin to say to the mountains, 'Fall on us,' and to the hills, 'Cover us.' For if they do this when the wood is green, what will happen when it is dry?" Not everyone in the crowd surrounding Jesus was angry. Not everyone was shouting. Not everyone wanted to see him suffer. Our stations take us from the kindness of Simon's helping to the sorrow of these women lamenting. They were wailing for him. Mourning women played a fundamental role in Jesus' time and place, so common they could easily be ignored. Jesus sees them, hears them, and addresses them. His words are not reassurance, but warning. There are even more heartbreaking days ahead. And yet Jesus is pausing from his own pain, giving his attention in spite of his own agony, is itself a kind of blessing. Mourning and blessing, lament and kindness take up equal space in this scene. Jesus even mentions a time when a usual lament will be understood as blessing. Take a pinch of salt. Sprinkle it into the bowl of water. Use your finger to swirl it around. Remember the tears of the women who followed Jesus on this path. Remember the tears Jesus shed as he looked out over the city. Think about the things over which you have shed tears. Mourning is also a sign of profound care. As you swirl your finger in the salt water, imagine your own tears mixing with others, all part of the mourning for what is broken in our world. Remember, too, the blessing of care poured out. Station 10. Crucifixion. When they came to the place that is called the Skull, they crucified Jesus there with the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And they cast lots to divide his clothing. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Can you imagine words more gentle, more compassionate, more grace-filled? Jesus speaks these words from the cross, one of the last things he says before he dies. He speaks them not as excuse, not as denial, but as profound understanding. The people putting him to death do not really know what they are doing. They are following orders. Maybe they are grieving. Maybe they are caught up in the crowd's emotion. Maybe they are confused by the conflicting stories about who Jesus is. A promise or a threat, a Messiah or a menace. The mechanisms of state violence demand action before understanding. They crucify him. They do not know what they do. There is much we also do not know about ourselves, about each other, and especially about those we would consider strangers or even opponents. Following Jesus' model here is one way to orient ourselves with grace toward all we do not know. So let's join again in a time of confession. I'll speak a prompt and then leave some silence for you to offer your own prayers. I'll close each silence by saying, "God, in your mercy," and you're invited to respond by saying, "Hear our prayers." Holy One, For where I have caused harm on my own, I ask you to forgive me and to help me forgive myself. It is sometimes true of me, like it was true of those in the story. I do not know what I do. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. And Holy One, for where I have caused harm together with others, I ask you to forgive us and to help me forgive. It is sometimes true of us, like it was true of those in the story. We do not know what we do. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. And Holy One, for where others have caused harm, I ask you to forgive them and to help me do the same. It is sometimes true of them, like it was true of those in the story. They do not know what they do. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Amen.